I want to draw your attention to what's happened on the corner of your screen there. While the Dow is down, as I keep saying, and it's important to keep saying it because it is historic if it comes to pass, while the Dow is off, and just a little bit in the scheme of things, it's the NASDAQ that's getting the attention. This technology-heavy index is comfortably in record territory and well over 10,000. We've hit that a number of times intraday. We've never closed over that. So the significance of that with Rebecca Walser and, of course, Connell Mcshane. Connell, you've been reporting on this back and forth. It sometimes takes a while for averages to tease a level, but this is a big one, isn't it?
Especially when you remember NASDAQ 5,000 back in the day. Seems like so long ago, but that was the hype during the tech bubble.
That's
and now
right.
Have doubled it many years later. It's that huge round number, and something is to be said, I think, about round numbers, but just in general how the market has run up, not only the NASDAQ, but the other averages off the lows from Dow 18,000 plus to 27,000 plus. It'll be really interesting to see how Jay Powell, the Fed chairman, handles himself in the next hour, trying that balancing act of letting investors know that he will continue to have their back, because we all know and have accepted the fact that the Federal Reserve has supported this rally off of the lows, but still, I would think, try to buy himself some time to see how the summer goes, to see if there is a second wave of the virus, to see how severe that might be, and then to see how governments react to it. Because if you're the Fed now, you've gotten to this point, and there's been some criticism, but you've gotten to this point, and now can you buy yourself some time to see us through it into the fall, when we might have some more information about the economy and the health situation?
You know, to his point, Rebecca, obviously we're going to listen very closely to what Jerome Powell has to say. Not that anyone expects a move on rates. I don't think we can go any lower unless we want to try negative rates. But he might telegraph this not moving on rates, keeping them near zero through this year, through next year, gosh, maybe through 2022. Where are you on this and the rewards and risks of this strategy?
I think Connell's exactly right. I mean, the Federal Reserve has injected over $2 trillion into the economy since March, and that was really, historic, and we needed it. I agreed with that. I'm not a big government interventionist, Neil. It usually goes kind of wrong, or there's some unintended consequences, but we needed it. We closed down voluntarily. We stopped everything in its tracks, and so the Fed acted appropriately. I think that Connell's exactly right. We're going to basically hope that the Federal Reserve Chairman, Jay Powell, is going to say, listen, we had some good jobs numbers last week. And I think that's actually why we're down. I think everyone's expecting that they're not going to maybe get as much support from the Fed as they were expecting with such great job numbers on Friday. And I don't think that's necessarily the case. I don't see any rate changes as anyone else does. And I definitely hope we stay away from negative territory, because I don't believe that will help us at all. But we do need to have some powder in the keg so that if something happens going forward from here, that we still have some reserve help that can come in. So I'm not looking for super aggressiveness, but I do hope that he indicates the Fed is still willing and ready to do what they need to do to support the recovery.
Rebecca, to follow up on another quick point by Connell, this idea that the Fed chairman seemed to be much more worried about the virus and it's still sticking around and the spike in cases, that it's still a variable to him. And I'm wondering how that plays out. Would that alarm investors if they hear him saying, hey, I'm not sure we've beaten this?
It's interesting.
Rebecca,
we'll
can
see.
You hear us? I'm sorry.
Because I do think, I thought that was for Rebecca. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead, Connell. It's okay. Go ahead, Connell. Go ahead. It's a who's on first here. We have this thing, Rebecca, with a delay,
right? Yes.
And I'm blaming it on Connell.
Third base,
but it's all me.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Right.
But go ahead, Rebecca. First, I did mean it for you initially, so I'm sorry for the confusion. But this idea that maybe that could rattle the markets if he goes on and on. That is Powell about the virus, and he's not convinced it's licked.
Yeah, I don't think that, I think we have some positive momentum. And I think that I'm hearing reports all over the country that there's a lot of different countries are saying that the viral load is so low that they don't expect that it's even going to be classified as a virus anymore. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on, not to bring in the science of it, Neil, but I am expecting that if Jay Powell comes out and sounds very negative optimistic about the future on the virus and a second wave, that's not going to bode well at all for the investors' sentiment today. I don't think we're expecting that at all. So I hope that he steers clear of that, and unless except to say that he wants to be prepared in the event that there's a future that needs additional Fed support. But beyond that, I hope he doesn't linger or belabor the fact that he thinks that we could have another wave of viruses. That's not what we want to hear from any government official right now, to be honest, from an economic perspective.
Yeah, but you do have, Connell, right? Obviously, Dr. Fauci is worried about it. He's gone on record saying he's worried about it. Does it carry more heft if Jerome Powell is?
Well, he's only going to react, right, to someone, I would assume, to someone like a Dr. Fauci. That's his wheelhouse. And then the Fed chairman's job is to react essentially to the reaction. And I think what's interesting about the market right now, if you talk to investors about it, is that there are some concerns, certainly about a second wave. People see the numbers in a state like Texas, where there were 2 straight days of record hospitalizations. They see numbers going up in Florida and other states. They do see all of that. But to me, the bet is that it's not so much that there won't be a second wave, but for investors, and they may be wrong, the bet is that there won't be a second shutdown, that the reaction to this will be a manageable one, that we'll be able to get our way through it, and that the economy won't shut down to the extent that it has been shut down for the last few months, even if there's a second wave. Now, again, those bets, as you know, could always be wrong, but I think that's a lot of what's driving things, that in addition to what Rebecca talked about earlier, the support from the Federal Reserve. So you try to keep both of those things in place, saying that even if we have more cases, we won't necessarily need to shut down as aggressively as we did the first time around.
Yeah, I wonder if we ever do something like this again. We'll see. Guys, thank you very much again. Sorry about that confusion here. Always good having both of you. In the meantime, we're still focusing on the NASDAQ and this run up here.